Are you ready? To Dante! Welcome back after an incredibly long hiatus. The longest I think we've taken.
Yeah, I forgot we podcasted.
Yeah, like this used to be a show a while ago.
This used to be our playground.
Yeah, formerly known as After the Hype. Still kind of After the Hype, because, you know, when we feel like doing those sorts of episodes, we're still going to do it. But until then, we're calling ourselves Behind the Hype. What? What does this mean? Well, if you haven't listened to Venture Bros, where I've been talking a lot about it, or if you didn't listen to the end of last year, basically what it means is that we're retooling the show a little bit. We are still a movie review podcast, but we want to talk more about how the movie got to you than opposed to just the movie itself. By doing that, we will do both the full-blown movie review, but we are going to do it under the idea of, let's focus on one filmmaker. Now, filmmaker can mean many things. It can mean director, writer, actor, cinematographer, editor, costume designer, pretty much any of the big names that you may or may not know. We're going to do a whole month diving into their career. So the starting of this is going to be Joe Dante. Because I figured, who better than the quasi-household name-ish sort of guy? Maybe not. But you definitely have seen his movies.
People will be like, I think I've heard of him.
I think I've heard of him. He did...
Yeah, he's that one guy who did the... Wait, hold on.
What did he do again? Gremlins! Yeah, I know Joe Dante.
One, yeah.
Dude,
the little monster
when I
movie.
looked up on our notes, it says that his birthday was November 28th, 1946.
Thank you.
And I just Googled that day. And he is first billed as famous person.
Oh, there you go. The most famous person born on his date.
It says November 28th, 1946. It was a Thursday.
He's
a Sagittarius.
Sounds like perfect Joe Dante.
The U.S. president was Harry Truman.
That makes sense.
Famous people born on this day include Joe Dante and Richard J.
I don't know the other one, but I know Joe Dante.
So Joe Dante clearly wins.
Dante wins. So a little bit more about how the show changes from here on out. Where Have You Been Doing is going to kind of disappear for the most part. We're going to take that section and kind of review stuff we don't have time to do a whole episode on. So today, we're going to do kind of a Where Have You Been Doing, because we have taken a long break. And I'm going to talk about one of his little itty-bitty bit parts in one of his anthology films as my thing. So like we're going to kind of ease into that. Then we're going to do the movie review. The movie review is going to be mostly slated against who we're talking about. So it's going to be a lot about the director this time and his style and that sort of stuff. But also about the movie itself, because that's what we're here for. And then at the end of it, we're going to review it. Standard review system. That's not changing because that's still too much fun. Quotes, at least depending on the topic of the month, is going bye-bye. This time it's going to be our funniest moment because Joe Dante is usually a funny guy. Comedy is at least present in most of his movies, even if they aren't a comedy. And then what else? Is that pretty much everything that's changing? Pretty much?
That seems to be it, yeah.
Yeah,
everything else is pretty much the same. That's why we didn't lose the feed. That's why we didn't change too much. Same people. There might have been a new theme song that played before this. I don't know if I've done it yet or not. There's a little bit of new art that John has done that looks beautiful.
Yeah, I totally did it.
Yeah, you did it. Uh-huh. You did a prototype that I looked at that was really cool looking. Beautiful. And then by today, it might be done, depending on if there's time.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
There was totally time.
Yeah,
there was totally time.
I love recording before
like
things are finished. So if you haven't been able to tell yet, we're still us, at least. Except now with slightly more research. Just a little bit. So to begin today's episode, I want to talk just a little bit about Joe himself. Chewy already mentioned his birth date, so he's what, 70?
He's 73 years.
73 years
2
young.
months and 3 days old.
Wow.
Days young.
He is classified as a baby boomer.
Ooh, okay, boomer.
Quite the spring chicken.
Okay, Dante boomer. Chinese zodiac is a dog. And again, he's a Sagittarius.
He is known for primarily known for being a director. I'm going to turn off my phone. Again, we're still us. Primarily known for being a director, has directed over 40 things, including 18 movies and or segments of movies. Like I mentioned, he's really into his horror anthologies. He did part of the Twilight Zone movie. He did a thing called, what is it? Women of Mars? Amazon Women of Mars.
Women of Mars. It's another anthology type thing.
Yeah, and then he had one, I think last year he did a segment of. Then did many, many TV shows. He originally wanted to be a cartoonist, which makes a lot of sense when you see his sense of humor. He lists Chuck Jones as one of his main influences. Again, makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense, yep.
And then you look at like the main guy who gave him his career, who has a lot to do with today's movie, Roger Corman. Again, makes a lot of sense. Like everything about I know about Joe Dante and seeing like who his influences and the people who got him where he's to be, I'm like, oh yeah, that all adds up.
At no point are you like, did we miss a step?
Which we will get to those when we get to people like that. It will happen. Like there's one person in particular that I'm very excited to talk about. That Chewie is the main reason we will talk about her when we get to her. That there is a big old kink in her armor. That will be the first episode that we discuss. I believe that's going to be April. Is what I'm thinking. Kink. No, it's an amazing movie.
It's the first link in her chainmail.
We'll get
Guys,
to her. I'm not going to say anything else about her. This is Joe Dante month. And then I wanted to ask. So I'm guessing around the quote unquote table, the biggest Joe Dante fan. I've been a fan of Joe Dante a long time. He's never been one of those like, what was his name again for me? Because I'm such a huge fan of Gremlins. I always know Joe Dante. But even a former co-host of our show, Ryan, reached out to me when I told him about the retooling of the show, and he's like, "It's cool you guys are starting with like an unknown person." I'm like, "Joe Dante's known." He's like, "I don't." I mean, I looked him up. I knew who he was, but I don't know him off the top of my head. So, where are you guys at? Like, how was your knowledge of Joe Dante before I said this is the guy we're covering for month one?
I knew he existed.
Okay.
I didn't realize for a long time that I liked him because of Predator. Took me a little bit to...
Predator?
Didn't he write Predator?
That's Shane Black.
I get him and Shane Black mixed up.
Okay. They both have odd sense of humor. I'll give you that much. Okay.
So now I feel a little bit bad.
Okay, so there's Chewie's.
Casual.
There's Chewie's exposure to Joe Dante. And I'm guessing, John, from the very little you're about to say, you're pretty much in the same ballpark?
Pretty much, yeah. It was Gremlins, but I had to be reminded.
The thing is, he made things that I loved. One thing I loved when I was younger, which was Explorers.
Yep.
Not as good as an adult rewatch.
No, that is not on our list to cover this month.
I saw Amazon Women on the Moon once when I was younger because it was on television. And as I watched it, I was like, what the frack is this?
He only did like a few of them in there. That's the one I'll talk about in a minute.
The whole thing is, it's nuts balls. And I had heard of a lot of his movies, and he did scar me for quite a long time in my life with Gremlins, because I saw it when I was too young.
Sure.
I didn't realize it was supposed to be a comedy till I was in my 20s, when someone told me it was a comedy, and I'm like, are you insane?
It was horrifying. No, my little Gizmo.
You're supposed to laugh at this? Oh, no.
Rambo.
Well, when you're 3 or 4 or whatever it was, it's not so pleasant.
Gremlins is on our list to cover this month. Gremlins 2, to be specific. We'll get to the list at the end of the episode. But John, did you have any movie of his that was like, even though you might not be the most familiar with him and his work, that you always know as like, oh yeah, that's the Joe Dante movie?
Apart from Gremlins, let me see here.
I know a lot of people have The Howling. Like, that's one that a lot of people remember him from.
Yeah, that sadly is on my blind spot. It's been kind of on there, like, to watch, but haven't quite got to there. I think you wrote it down somewhere here. Didn't you say, like, Small Soldiers, or was that something else?
Yeah, he did Small Soldiers.
Yeah, I saw that one and thought that one was, like, really funny. And when I saw that pop up in our little notes here, I was like, oh, he did that. That's really what it ends up being, is like, oh, Joe Dante did this. So everything I've seen of his, I've enjoyed, but I just, for some reason, haven't seen enough, or I haven't really seen enough to have it stick.
Fair enough. So over the course of this month, you'll get far more acquainted with Joe Dante, which will be a lot of fun.
I'm excited.
So let's do a very quick kind of where have you been doing-esque thing before we dive into the movie of today, and I have something that's actually more on brand with our new show, but I want to give you guys just a chance to, like, we've been gone for a long time. Like, what's something that you saw over this very long break that you'd either, you know, like our old-fashioned where have you been doing? Like what's something you've done that's great?
Well, while I was cleaning our apartment after
I
Christmas...
said what's great.
What's great? Well, I went on a great little binge of rom-com movies.
Oh, okay.
I saw The Lake House. I saw... What's the bride one?
Runaway Bride.
No, not Runaway Bride. My Best
My
Friend's
Best Friend's
Wedding. And
nice.
Morning Glory.
Ooh.
Out of those three, I would say Morning Glory was the most enjoyable one for me.
That's Rachel McAdams, Harrison Ford.
And I don't understand why anyone likes My Best Friend's Wedding.
None of you could see the intensity in Chewy's eyes when she said that, but it was very intense.
It is. It's so unpleasant. The only pleasant person in that movie...
Cameron Diaz, right?
Cameron Diaz and the gay best friend.
Yeah.
Because they're the only ones that are, like, genuine about what's going on.
They're not bad, horrible people.
Well, the guy in the center of it's not a horrible person, but he is a big old dumbass. He can't tell what's going on. He seems like he's just kind of blind to people's motivations around him, so I don't know how well his marriage is going to go.
It's going to go great.
And he's...
It was a movie from the 90s. Everything went great in the 90s.
Yeah.
John, what about you?
So I saw a few things, watched a few things, read a few things, but the ones that stood out to me would be Knives Out. I watched that just at the turn of the year, and then I went and read Murder on the Orient Express right after, and I had a really good time with both. I didn't really realize I liked the whodunit as much as I did, and then after watching Knives Out and really just enjoying every part of it, yeah, I had to get on that mystery bandwagon and start reading that. And I've realized that
Clue, right?
I've seen Clue, yes.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed that too. But I also realized too, like, that's part of what I enjoyed about reading the Sookie Stackhouse books, is that every book was a mystery, and that author was originally a mystery writer before doing the vampire thing. So, yeah, no, the clues for me were there. I just, had the aha moment after I saw the movie. And, yeah, that's really the one that stood out. There were a lot of other things I did, and there was one movie I watched that I really hated, but other than that, and I won't call it by name or anything, it just had...
I will. It's Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that was a garbage thing. Oh, it made me angry. I got visibly upset after that.
Yeah, I was basically inconsolable after watching that, which I've never been after pretty much any movie, but, whatever.
A couple days ago, I had a dream that they made another movie to fix it, and I was really happy about that.
I'll never be happy about it, because that's all this movie was to fix the last fucking one. And my God, they don't know what they were doing. Thank God they're done-ish. But I'll
Don't worry. Then you got to see Cats.
Oh my God. If I was going to do a Where Have You Been Doing Today instead of the thing I am going to talk about, it would have been Cats, because Cats is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Masterpiece. And that's all I'm going to say.
Meow.
A meowsterpiece.
And I just swooshed into the air like a sexy
Idris Elba
brunette
cat
that they call a ginger at some point.
Masterpiece. But okay, so going back into the Joe Dante land, the thing that I'll talk about, and something we're going to try to do moving forward, instead of where we've been doing, we're going to do reviews of other pieces that we're not spending a whole day on. And for me, I'm taking the French Ventriloquist Dummy, which is a short excerpt out of the Amazon Women on the Moon DVD extras. So I'm going real deep on this one.
Oh,
this
wow.
was a sketch that they removed from the actual movie. It was in the TV cut, and it was on DVD, and it is also on YouTube, which is where I very fortunately found it. And I think if you can find it, if you just search Amazon Women on the Moon Ventriloquist, you'll find it. It's definitely worth a watch. It's all of 5 minutes. It is very much Joe Dante's sense of humor, which is this sort of dry, but also kind of cartoony, and it just nails that. So the bit is that Dick Miller, who we're going to probably see a lot of this month because he and Joe Dante are really good friends. Dick Miller plays a ventriloquist who went to a ventriloquist commune party thing, and he switched dummies with a French ventriloquist, totally by accident. And now they have a language barrier. So he's sitting on stage trying to get the dummy to do his jokes, but the dummy only speaks French, and they just can't see eye to eye. So he's like, I'm sorry, folks, I just can't do it. And a woman stands up. She's like, I think I can help. I happen to have a translator dummy with me right now. And they bring the translator dummy up, and they speak French to the one, then English back and forth. And it's just very dry. Like, I need to express how dry it is. Like, it's all played very matter of fact, but it's this ludicrous situation that just makes no sense. And it was, like I said, 5 minutes short. I think it's totally worthwhile. I think Joe Dante and Dick Miller did a great job with it. This is the weirdest language barrier film ever.
And that was like just a segment in the Amazon Women on the Moon.
It's the Amazon
like
Women on the Moon
segment?
is a because we're not going to do a full episode on it. It's an anthology, so it's just a whole bunch of comedic shorts, just like very short, just like rapid fire. Like okay, it's when everyone was trying to be Kentucky Fried Movie, and they just couldn't quite do it.
I've never seen that.
That's all that is, just boom, 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 boom. So you're gonna like some of it, you're gonna hate some of it, but it's fine. They try to do it again with movie 43 and missed the mark by a bazillion miles.
Yeah, that movie was not enjoyable.
No, it was,
that's every review I read about that.
It's like, how is this physically hurting me? But it is. Bad movie. Amazon Women on the Moon, from the one segment that I saw that's not technically in the movie, I liked it. So take that for an endorsement, if you will.
I think Joe Dante would love that endorsement, actually.
I think he would. I think he'd appreciate it. Let's move into today's movie. So today we're going all the way back, the very beginning of his career, his first directing credit, kind of. He shared it with somebody else, which is why I say kind of. Hollywood Boulevard. This is a movie that is, I'll even do a quick breakdown for it, and then we'll jump into it. So this is the movie that basically is kind of sending up, but also paying homage to, but also having very strong commentary on the B-movie genre of the 70s, late 70s, that sort of thing. It does so with like a woman who comes to Hollywood to be a star, gets roped into crazy shenanigans, ends up working for like the worst film company that makes a movie a week and can't afford anything but just keeps pumping them out, doesn't care if people die on their set. Slowly but surely she makes her way into the company. They do great, they go out to movies, people start literally getting picked off by a serial killer, and then she finds out that it's her boyfriend, but it's not. It's also the star of the movie, and we don't really ever wrap any of that stuff up, because that's a B movie for you. And then it just kind of ends.
Yeah.
I actually kind of liked it, though. Is that weird?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a fun movie. And like there's things in it that, especially being the first one out of the gate, I wouldn't expect this much Joe Dante to be there. Like, because I've seen Piranha, which is technically what he did after this, and that doesn't really feel like a Joe Dante movie. This still feels like a Joe Dante movie. Like, just right out of the gate with the whole action sequence of the parachuters coming out of the plane and flying, and they're filming it for this big stunt sequence. They're like, oh, her chute stand opening up. Nope. Keep filming. Nope.
And you
Keep
hear
filming.
her screaming.
You just hear her screaming, and then just thump. And they cut to where she landed, and it's like a cartoon cutout into the ground of just spread eagle, just.
Right.
It's like, oh, so this is what we're watching.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. We'll get another one. They're a dime a dozen.
Yeah. And that was the B movie world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect because again, it was a lot of that. Oh, Joe Dante, he did this. So, really, the skydiving scene cued it in for me. I knew it was. Excuse me. I knew it was going to be a comedy, just based off the little blurb when I fired it up on the Amazons. But I think seeing that hole in the ground was the first where it snapped for me. I was like, oh, Joe Dante. Okay, I get it. And I started to recall stuff from Gremlins. And from there, I was just in the right headspace for everything else in this movie. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, there was a lot of rough around the edges-ness to it. But then I read up on it, too, to realize we're just making this as cheap as possible.
Yeah, when you start digging into how this was made, it's like, wait, what? The movie was made on a bet.
It was made on a bet, and they used all sorts of Corman movies interspersed in it. Because there was times in this movie, too, where I was like, hey, wait a minute. I feel like I've seen some of these scenes before.
Isn't this
No, it
just
can't be. It
Death
can't
Race
be.
right now?
Yeah,
Like that's
it
his.
really it was just Death Race for a little bit there.
Like it helped that one of the actors was also in Death Race.
Yeah.
We're just gonna use the same footage. That's the costume you wore in that movie too.
Yeah, and then just every moment afterwards, it was so fun. It was like I didn't know what I was gonna get, but I got something really funny each time. I don't know.
But here's the thing, and I didn't mean to dive into this as early as we're going to, but if the shoe fits, as fun and stupid and willing to make fun of itself as the movie is, it also takes really hard swings at both like the people who make these movies and the movies themselves, and then just people. Like really hard swings. The people who make these movies are basically how they just treat their entire crew like cattle and they're disposable. Very just blatantly said so many times. But then the way it handles rape, like there's technically 2 rape scenes in it, 3 if you count them watching her rape scene later, because it's part of the movie. She gets raped in the movie, and then the people fake raping her really want to rape her. And then we watch that scene again on screen later. So I'm not sure if I'd count that or not, but either way, it's still there, so we probably should. And then while that scene is going on, she's legitimately getting raped by a guy who's running the theater. Like, there's a lot in this movie. None of it is shown to be sexy, which I appreciate. It's all shown to be pretty horrible, and it has a pretty big stand on it. I mean, obviously, the stand is rape is wrong, but look at the fucking hypocrites involved in it.
It's more so the absurdity of him saying, like when the director is directing the rape scene, he's like, you're being tortured or whatever by these men, and it's going to be the most sensual thing captured on film. And it's like, what?
What?
There is no sensualness about rape. And she definitely was not enjoying it. She hated it. She ended up crying, and then she got really drunk when she saw it on film.
Yeah.
So it's just like the divide. It's very commentary on like how some men think it's just luscious and whatever. Not luscious, also, whatever word it is. But
it also took some big stabs at the men in her life who would profess to be allies, to use a term. Like when she's getting raped at the projectionist booth, what are the guys doing? They're just oblivious and wandering around, and when they're there,
well, not their fault.
They don't really help. Like,
but they are looking for her, and they are the ones who stop her. So I wouldn't take shots at them so much as like the guy who's sitting in the car next to them when the rape scene comes on, and he's just like, "This is awful," and his wife is like, "What does she say? Like disgusting or nasty or wrong or something like that."
It's sick.
Sick, that's right. And she says the same thing every time, and he's like, "This is just wrong. Sick. I can't believe they do this. Sick." And then when he leaves to go demand his money back from the projectionist and sees the projectionist raping her, he's like, "What? Well, I guess I might as well join in."
Yeah.
That was more of the like, what a fucking hypocrite fucking dudes can be. Like,
yeah, because the guys in the car, I mean, they weren't doing anything wrong at all.
No, they got worried.
No, and they did. They went to look for it and they helped, but it struck me as interesting that it kind of pokes, like, at least in the read of this is, I'm projecting a lot of today onto it, but like, just, you don't always notice what's going on. And I don't know, like that delay, that not being there sort of thing. I don't know.
I think the bigger problem is that they know she's incredibly emotional and very inebriated, and she leaves like, she'll be fine. That was more of the problem.
Yeah.
I guess that's problematic, but I'm also on the dudes don't always need to follow.
No, but I can see where John's coming from. I'm not sure if that... My problem with the scene... Not that I have a problem with the scene. The problem in the scene is more the dude from the car over who just hops in because she happens to be getting attacked.
Oh, yeah, that's commentary, and that's terrible. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And then even on the set where they're like, okay, you guys can stop now. You know, we cut, guys. That kind of like... we're just waiting here to do something. What should we do? I don't know. Like, it's bad. Stop it. Like, they eventually do it, but I don't know. Like, that delay that stood out to me for somehow. And there's probably some projection onto that.
The actor who played him, Paul Bartel, I think is how you say his last name. He's been around for fucking years. He nails that sleazeball director in that scene and throughout the whole movie. But he's just perfect at it. Just this guy. Like, I've worked with these guys before. Like, these just directors who just don't give a fuck.
No.
And they just keep saying, like, no, I'm making the highest art in the world. You just got to see it because it's the best. They really
think that at the time.
One of the things I do want to talk about in this movie is the constant collaboration that Joe Dante has a lot with Dick Miller. We mentioned Dick Miller way back in our Tales from the Crypt episode because he had just one of the most awkward scenes ever in a movie in that one. But Dick Miller shows up in a lot of Joe Dante stuff. He's in Gremlins, Gremlins 2, the short I mentioned here, this one, and just more than that. But those are the only ones coming off the top of my head right now. When he popped up in this movie, I had just a sheer joyous moment of like, oh, I love it when Dick Miller shows up.
Yeah, it's that guy. Like, I was like, oh, him. First it was, oh, Joe Dante, that guy. And then Dick Miller, I was like, oh, that guy. And I realized I was going to have a whole movie with him. It was quite a joy.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be kind of a cameo. Because, like, Joe Dante cameos, Roger Corman cameos. Like, people cameo throughout the whole movie. But he's a legit character.
What I like about what John just said is, I'm looking at the Wikipedia, and in 2014, they made a documentary called That Guy, Dick Miller.
Perfect.
He played himself. It was
That's funny. I mean, he had an amazing career. He just passed away, I think, last year at some point, like early last year.
Yeah.
Amazing career that guy had. And he's always good. Like, that. He's never the world's greatest actor, but he was always good and entertaining, and it's just kind of like he made every movie just a little bit better. And this movie's one of those because like the rest of the cast, with the exception of Paul Bartel, I can never know if I'm saying his name right. Everybody else are kind of B-movie people. Like they're people like the lead of the movie. What's her name? Candace Razelin. I can never pronounce her last name. Razelin. R-I-A-S. Railson, that could be right. Huge B-movie actress. Huge. Like a queen of the genre. So much so that legit films were worried about casting her because they thought they'd like lower the brand of the movie because she's a B-movie actor. But I always thought she was good. Like this was I think the only thing I really know her from, beyond a few bit parts here and there. But I was always aware of her. Like I knew the character that Bridget Fonda played in Jackie Brown was based on her. Like I knew these things, so I at least knew who she was, because people liked that she was this girl who seemed like a real human being and kind of had this like, I don't want to say spunky attitude, but this like relatable attitude, like not quite girl next door, but like the girl that you just kind of root for. And she brought that to, from what I understand, every role she ever played. Like I said, I don't know a ton of her work, but I think she was great for this.
I thought she sold it really well. Just the kind of ditzy, but not really ditzy.
Yeah.
You know, the starstruck, I'm gonna make it girl. I'll take all the advice people give me. I'll be super trusting.
The super trusting, specifically, not to cut off John's reaction to her, but it's because the scene we didn't really talk about that much. That super trusting, just got off the boat to Hollywood thing, and she's like, yeah, I'm looking for a job in this trade here. And this guy's like, oh, I'm a producer. Do you want to come? You want to come be in my movie? And me knowing these sorts of movies, I'm oh god, she's gonna get I thought this was supposed to be funny. Like, what is happening? And oh god, she's doing a bank robbery.
Right.
Yeah, just wear this mask. The cameras are hidden.
Yeah, the cameras are hidden.
What kind of movie is this?
I love it when the cop comes running out of the bank and the dude just fucking shoots him in the chest. She's like, huh, what kind of movie is this?
Right.
First off, you'd be ruining a take. If this was a movie, you just ruined the movie. Secondly, clearly not a movie.
And not only that, like she's a good driver. Like she's a good stunt driver. Like this kind of naivety, like her driving, like it turns out to be something. Like she's actually good at it. I thought that was really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Honey, she was in one of your favorite movies.
Is that what I know her from?
Logan's Run.
Oh, that's definitely what I know.
First screamer in Logan's apartment.
Oh, then maybe not. First screamer?
Oh, that character.
Yeah.
That character. Yeah.
Uncredited.
Oh, then that's definitely not what I know her from.
Who's that screamer?
Oh, I love her. She's my favorite. What was there something that you wanted to bring up, John?
Well, I mean, I know we were talking a little bit about Dick Miller, but just that producer role, like that
PG?
character, PG was great. I don't know. I just wasn't expecting it to be that funny. But at every turn where he's like, "Oh, I represented them at one time," and it was like an elephant, or like a bird, or like it was some random thing that he represented. I thought that was really great.
I liked how much of a scumbag he was willing to be at all times.
Oh yeah.
Like specifically in the scene where they're talking about his next film. It's gonna be this biggest film ever. It's gonna be the best film ever. And he's talking to the writer about it, and he's going this whole thing about like it's gonna be the 50s. But do people really want to see the 50s? He's like, yeah, it's in right now. It's only 20 years ago, so people are kind of into it. Yeah, but what if we do something different? Like it'll still be the 50s. But what if it's 2050? And it's like, that's not the 50s anymore, you fucking asshole.
My favorite part with him was when the one girl wanted to quit the movie. And then he just sits her down and he's like, honey, I took out another mortgage for this. I spent all my money. And if we don't make this movie, it's not only that I'll be broke, I'll be in jail.
You gaslighting son of a bitch.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Oh man.
lady, don't believe any of this shit. He's a producer. He makes a movie a week. Oh, come on. Is he taking that much money out for every one of these things? Nuh-uh.
Nope.
He is filling you with shit. But I
does
guess
what-
he's a good producer then.
He's a good producer. He got her back in the movie.
He did. She got back into it. And then she got murdered.
Yeah.
Bad
So it's actually really
producer.
his fault.
So what do you guys think about the ending? Like, as I watched it, I was kind of annoyed, but at
I
the
have
same...
no idea what the whole point with that shed thing was with her boyfriend.
I don't get it. Like, when he shows up, like, I guess you're next, and then he chases her? Like,
And
what?
then, and then he gives up on the chase?
Yep. And then we find out
Well, I
the
thought
star
it
was
was
the
that
murderer.
I thought he was trying to figure out who was killing everybody, and he pinned her as like the last victim or something. But she misread it.
That was obvious. Then why would he keep that in a locked shed? Like,
Yeah.
it just...
Yeah. No, I guess that part didn't make sense.
Your reasoning makes a lot more sense than what's happening in my head, because my head was like, oh, I guess he's the killer, but, like, what's the fuck is... What?
Because it seems
And then
very
even
much
at the end
like
of the
a-
movie,
Yeah.
when she's talking to when she's at the Hollywood party, and she's like, oh, and then the writer, he had this shed, but we don't want to go into that. I'm like, yes, we do want to go into that. What the fuck was going on with that?
Yes, we do. We want to find out.
I was kind of like, I wonder if it's his masturbation shed.
Oh, yeah, everyone's got to have a good wank shed.
Oh, wink shed. Let's get rid of lady
that's one of the
bars
joys
or
of
whatever,
owning
lady sheds or
a
whatever
home.
they call them.
I don't
Wank
know.
sheds.
Wank sheds.
They're for everybody.
Yeah. Everyone have a good wank.
You can get them pretty cheap at Lowe's.
Just bring your Swiffer.
I mean, you got those
Jet.
like easy to install. Oh, God.
Oof.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was confusing, that whole scene, but that's what I was reading. That's what I read into it, at least.
But the thing is like, it was confusing, but at the same time, it's a B movie. Like that's kind of why I said that in the breakdown. Like, it's a B movie. It's not really clear, but who cares?
And it's a movie made out of short ends,
Yeah.
10 days, and clips from other movies.
It's like, you get what you get.
I actually think this movie paired with like The Fall would actually be interesting to me.
Why The Fall?
Because
the Tarzan, The Fall?
Yes, because that movie was basically written off of the ramblings of a 4-year-old girl
It shows.
and just locations they wanted to go to. There was no real script to that movie.
It shows.
I love that movie.
It shows.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that they were I didn't know this about the movie when I went to watch it. I found this out after, that they just put other movies in there, which is why it was weird until I kind of cued in. And I think for me it was when they got deep into the shooting of the Machete Maidens of Moratau. And they were just shooting their machine guns, and then it cut to like all this footage of explosions and soldiers being shot down. And I was like, what is going on? This is a different movie. Like, the cinematography
With
was
a
completely
lot
different.
of extras.
Oh, there's so many extras. And like, that's like because when it cuts to anybody from this movie, it's like a woman in like with very large breasts in a shirt that's barely holding them together, shooting the most ridiculous gun, and like totally surrounded by absolutely no one.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to like just like firing wildly, and then it cuts to like 30,000 people being shot
that
at.
she's shooting.
That she is currently murdering. It's
Yeah.
like, what is
the
happening?
best one.
You know,
The best
70s
one of those-
did not believe in bras.
Oh, no,
Apparently.
I mean, it wasn't in Star Wars. It wasn't in this movie.
Well, that's because nobody wears bras in space.
yeah.
That's George
Remember,
Lucas's rule.
in the 70s, that's what they thought future was going to be, too. No bras now and no bras then, or whatever.
The future is now!
But yeah, in that whole scene, I think the best one of those is where the one who turns out to be the murderer, she's up on the top of a hill somewhere, and she's just shooting up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And then guys like to her left and right are dying. That was hilarious. And then one girl tosses the other, tosses Candace another gun because she runs out of bullets, and just it's so elaborate and over exaggerated. It's great.
Oh, yeah, and it's not just like a gun. It's like a full blown like Tommy gun with like the full round like magazine. There's it's like, what the fuck?
Well, you get the optimal jiggle.
I mean, that's very true. There's a lot of jiggle. And a lot of me just going, I don't know what it's like to have boobs, at least of that size. That looks really uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, you feel it.
Like, I felt pain in my chest watching these poor
and
women.
then your back. And
That makes sense.
And your neck. Because those things, I don't even have very big boobs, but you can tell it pulls at you. The entire area behind and above your boobs, it pulls.
I mean, I listened to the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend song about it. I feel like I know more about boobs after listening to that song than ever before. And it just made me go like, oh, that makes me feel a little bad.
Yeah. That's why whenever they do show, like, Amazon women, even in, like, The Witcher, in that forest thing.
Oh, right.
All of their boobs look like they're being pushed down pretty hard by their clothing. You know.
That makes sense. Strap those things down. They're
Keep
a liability.
them together.
Broke-a-lawn babes of The Witcher.
And I'm digging that show. I need to finish it. I really like it.
We will.
I think we've said enough. I think we should move into our favorite, funniest moment of the movie. And hopefully we don't all have the same one. I don't think we will. If we do, so be it. But John, you actually wrote yours down in our show notes for the day, so why don't you go first?
Okay, let's see. So for me, the favorite moment, as someone who lives in Los Angeles and has driven down all these freeways, is the montage where they're trying to go to the quote-unquote premiere of the Machete Maidens of the Morotal. And it's just this incoherent look at all the freeways we have. the 101, the 405, like all of them. And they're just like back and forth. And even some of the footage repeats.
Oh, yeah.
And just the frenzy of it, the incoherent frenzy, but recognizing each one of those shots was just a real delight for me. But it was also nice because it works for people who don't live here. That's how they see our weird traffic-y thing.
I live here, and that's how I see our weird traffic-y thing.
They're all the same stops. There's road signs still. They
Yeah,
all look
that was
the same.
when Chu and I were watching. It's like it's weird how much this doesn't look different than now.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the exit on the 5 off the
The graffiti changed a little bit.
Yeah, the graffiti's updated. But the exit, I think it's off the 110. No,
It's the 110 to the 5.
yeah, the 110 to the 5.
Yeah.
That exit looks the exact same. It still has the same construction, which makes me feel really, really sure that it's going to be done sometime soon.
Yeah, totally. In the next year or 2 or 3. Soon.
Or 50. Because this movie's almost 50 years old.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah, it's never getting fixed. So I guess my funniest moment, I'm between a couple, but I think it's got to be the bank robbery. The whole bank robbery sequence just kind of made me chuckle the whole way through it. Of just because she's just so willing to go along with it up until the very end. Like up until the other dude shoots at the other guy. She's like, oh, this is a bad situation. It takes her so long to catch on. And by the time she catches on, the robber's kind of into her. Oh, wow, you're really good at this. You might have a future. And then she runs away. But I just kind of like that whole sequence. I thought it was funny. It's a really great twist on the girl getting taken advantage when she arrives in L.A. Because usually that's a very dark, gritty, gross story that people try to tell there. This one's like, they used her as a getaway driver.
Yeah, and the music is great for all these
yeah.
serious chase scenes. It's just like this great music. But the shootout with the one guy who escapes with the money, just everyone fires their guns. Like, that whole sequence is just a delight.
Yeah.
Like,
It's fantastic.
I liked afterwards it all happened and she goes back to her agent's office and he's like, all right, and that's where you learned
You learned a lesson.
You learned a lesson. And she first says, don't trust anybody.
Yeah, don't
And
trust-
he's like, no, don't take a job without talking to your agent. And I'm like, that's actually true and hilarious.
Yeah, it worked.
oh, man.
Was that your favorite moment? Was that your funny moment then?
That was my favorite funny moment, yeah.
So a review system for today is going to be B movies. Any sort of B movie. And I'll take your own qualification as a B movie, like something you consider a B movie. I'll accept that answer.
Let's see. I'll go with Troll 2.
Okay.
That originates the line, "Oh my God."
Fair enough. I'm going to go for one that I don't mean this to be more of a compliment on the movie than I mean it to be, but I gotta go with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Just because it's that other movie that everyone has kind of heard of and maybe seen, maybe not, but you're still aware of it. You at least are aware of it. You hear the name, you're like, oh yeah, I know that. Oh, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Like, at least you have that click in your head. But it's a movie that, like, when you go back to it, it's like, I guess it's kind of funny. It's also just kind of there. And this movie kind of has the same thing. I enjoyed it. I really liked watching it. Will I go back to it? I don't know. This is kind of
no.
It's
I'm glad to have seen it.
I'm really happy to see it, knowing Joe Dante as well as I do with his later career, going back to the original and seeing like how strong of a voice he had right out of the gate. But I don't go back to much more than that.
I'm going to go with not necessarily a B movie, but definitely a movie that's doing a similar thing.
Okay.
Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, yeah.
Still a very good movie that is making fun of and making commentary on the genre that it's from, which that one is more slashers and horror films.
Yep.
They mix a whole bunch in there. It's not just slashers. It's they got the Cenobites, they got monsters, they got zombies, they got, yeah. And
it's such a good movie.
it is a really good movie.
Sigourney Weavers.
Yeah, Sigourney Weavers.
And
it had a pretty satisfying, but also tad confusing ending.
it's not confusing at all.
No, that was
Everyone
That's true. Everyone just dies.
Everyone.
The part when they're all
Absolutely
celebrating things and the girl is just getting beaten up by the zombie. I don't remember which one it was. On the pier where she's just getting the
That's part of the crazy, creepy family.
Yeah, where she's just getting the shit kicked out of her in the background and they're all celebrating and cheering. That kind of felt like a Joe Dante moment.
Oh, yeah. I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
The one thing I feel like we never mentioned his name, and that's not fair to him at all. So I apologize if you've been listening to this episode and you're a fan of the movie the whole time. You're like, you haven't mentioned Alan Arkush at all, and you're right, we didn't. So he was also the co-director in this movie. Deserves a lot of the credit for all the things that we just said, and the things that we loved about it, and the things that we were okay about it. He also had a hand in. So sorry, Alan, that we didn't mention you throughout.
Alan.
Thank you. That's it, right? We've done it.
We did it.
We did it.
We made it, I think.
Oh, I
think we did
forgot the. No, I'm not gonna. I'm fucking. I didn't say do you recommend, but I think we all recommended it. We kind of said it in our review system.
It's recommended.
So, yeah, it's recommended.
Yeah.
So coming up throughout the rest of Joe Dante month, we have guaranteed full episodes on the following. There it is. Next week, Gremlins 2, the new batch, followed by Matinee, and finishing up with Burying the X. If you have not watched Gremlins 1 in a while, I would highly recommend a rewatch before diving into Gremlins 2, because there are a lot of jokes at Gremlins 1 expense that will kind of go over your head if you haven't seen it recently.
Okay.
That's it. So that's what we're watching this month, Gremlins 2, Matinee, and Burying the X. We will also try to do mini reviews like I did with the short film of any of the following. I'm not sure, so no promises, but we'll try to. Of Small Soldiers, anything The Twilight Zone, Amazon Warrior of the Moon, which we've already kind of done a little bit, Trapped Ashes, Nightmare Cinema, we might do The Howling, or any of his single episodes of Police Squad, Twilight Zone, Erie, Indiana, The Warlord, Battle of the Galaxy, everyone's favorite, Hawaii Five-0, the current edition, and Legends of Tomorrow. I'm sure either Chewie or I will review at some point, because Joe Dante did a Legends episode, which is awesome.
I'm insanely curious about that one, having seen the whole Crisis thing myself.
Yeah, the Joe Dante episode's a good one. I would highly recommend it. It's a good one. So yeah, lots of Joe Dante coming up this month. I'm very excited for it. I hope you are too. Thank you for listening. We're going to do a very, very short round of plugs. I promise it won't take that long. Listen to Venture Bros every Monday. We are finishing up season 7, and then we're moving on to a new show. And I won't say what that is yet because I haven't fully decided. I'm between two. But it's going to be good.
But definitely not Between Two Ferns. That's somebody else's.
I mean, maybe it is
No.
Between Two Ferns.
No.
No, I could be doing a podcast on Between Two Ferns.
Between
would
the
kind of-
two betweens?
Is it too meta?
It's a little... I don't know. You do have a beard that has red in it.
I'm basically Zach Galifianakis.
You're the same person.
I'm the same. I'm him and Seth Rogen.
Yes!
And every other
You
slight.
are their baby!
I'm every other slightly overweight bearded comedian. I'm all of them.
Zach
Can we have all of
Galifianakis.
their money?
That would be nice.
I just want, like, all of their money.
Yeah, me too.
You just start getting their residual checks.
Yeah. And then
They're like, yeah, you're totally them, right?
yeah, I'm all of them. And then just a few more plugs really quick. Be sure to check out athpod.com to see the awesome Doctor Who article written by Matt Dykes. It's coming up soon, I think. You'd have to ask him. Be sure to ask him. Message Matt Dykes about his Doctor Who article, just to see how it's coming along. Because
Just
he said it's
text
going to
him
be great.
or like message him saying like, "Are you my mummy? Are you my mummy?"
Yeah, it just
Over and over again.
Constantly hammer Matt Dykes about the Doctor Who article that he is definitely writing. That's it for plugs for me. John, what are you plugging?
Demon Days is back. And by the time you hear this, it'll be back again and ready to go.
And Chewy?
Superstore.
Yeah!
Watch Superstore. It premiered the new season last Thursday. Or 2 Thursdays now.
That's it. I will say goodbye. Goodbye?
Bye.
Goodbye?
Truckin',
bye,
truckin',
bye.
fucking.
Oh, God, no. Almost got through the whole episode without mentioning that fucking fucking.
See you later, bozos.